Tyler Bowen is on the board as Ohio State's offensive line coach, getting his first commitment in the 2026 recruiting class. Maxwell Riley, number 114 player, number 9 tackle at Avon Lake, Ohio. I'm Stephen Means, and that's Andrew Gillis. Andrew, I would say from my perspective, this is probably a good first step for Tyler Bowen. I wouldn't necessarily call it a home run simply because this is still a kid in your backyard. But as a new assistant coach, it seems like step one is make sure that you lock down your borders, especially in a cycle where it feels like other schools are trying to poach some of your best players. Just kind of evaluate Tyler Bowen and him quickly turning Maxwell Riley to a guy who was starting to lean towards another school into a Buckeye.
You said it's not a home run. This to me it just kind of like reeks of this is a bases clearing double. This is a let's get out of a drought and get on base, right? Like
Yeah.
this is a gap shot that you needed. Because you mentioned it, right? When you have a player like Maxwell Riley, he was per the 247 composite as of right now, the number 114 player in the class, the number 9 player at offensive tackle. There's some positional versatility there. He's played left, he's played right, he can play inside. We'll see. I know that was Justin Fry's plan for him was, versatility. We'll see what Tyler Bowen's plan for him is. So, we'll kind of get a better idea of that, I think, over these next couple of weeks, next couple of months. But man, this is just a needed step for Tyler Bowen and for Ohio State, because you look at Maxwell Riley and you go, okay, number 4 player in this class, number 1 rated offensive lineman in the state of Ohio. And when you start talking about this position at Ohio State, this has been something that Ohio State has not really recruited all that well in the last couple of years. I think there's been some issues, certainly like if you look at the 2025 class, you only signed 3 prospects. That's something Ryan Day pretty much admitted on National Signing Day needs to improve. And he said, that's something we need to take a hard look at. And now you have Tyler Bowen come in. He's your offensive line coach. Justin Fry, who did do a very, very good job of developing and coaching up the guys that he had. He goes to the NFL. Tyler Bowen comes in, and you start to say, okay, maybe it'll take some time. Maybe it'll be one of those things where it kind of takes a minute for him to get going. Now you land one of the better players in the state, just as it seemed that this kid was maybe kind of deciding between Ohio State and Clemson, and maybe Clemson was in the lead a little bit. Now you get him on board. This is just massive. And, this is a really, really big signing because of where Ohio State's offensive line recruiting has been, what it means for Tyler Bowen, for what kind of player Maxwell Riley is, and what kind of kid Ohio State is getting. This is a really big deal. And I think fans should be really, really excited about this one. Steven, you're muted.
Now, granted, you mentioned Clemson, and Clemson's already won 1 battle in Ohio for Adam Guthrie out of Miami Trace. But with all due respect to Adam, this seemed like a bigger deal as you're talking about. I mean, the baseball description, I'm not great at baseball. So it was either home run, double, triple, or single. You added in the base clearing part of it, which great analogy for you. But this seemed like a bigger deal here because essentially this is where Justin Fry was in the 2023 recruiting class when he brought in Luke Montgomery, when he brought in Josh Padilla, and he brought in Austin Saravel. Now, obviously, there's some other Ohio guys that Tyler Bowen's going to need to lock down, Sam Greer specifically as one of those guys. But this is where Justin Fry did thrive, at making sure teams weren't poaching from his backyard. It was the national guys where Justin Fry didn't really thrive so much. And are there a million reasons for why that is? Sure. Are all of them within Ohio State and Justin Fry's control? Probably not. But the point of the matter is you either did it or you didn't. And he didn't do that. And so I guess my question to you is, for starters, starting with the in-state guys, should we be on the lookout for a Sam Greer commitment to any school anytime soon, or is that something that maybe might take until the summer?
I have always kind of assumed that Riley, and I was kind of always under the impression that Riley was going to be sooner than Greer. I think when you kind of mapped out where this off season was going to go, I think you could probably say, okay, Riley will probably go February or March. Greer will probably go July or so. Riley came just, like that. It was one of those things where it was like, oh, wow, okay, wasn't expecting this. And I don't think a lot of Ohio State fans were kind of on the lookout for that. Obviously, Ohio State's about to start spring practice, so we were kind of anticipating he was going to be on campus for a visit. So that was a bit surprising. But you mentioned it. Greer is probably the next biggest one. Offensive tackle out of Archbishop Hoban. He's a top 200 recruit. He's one of the better tackles in this class. He's got a lot of really, really, good programs looking at him as well. I know Missouri's in that mix. A couple other schools are really involved with him. So, that's another kid where you look at and say, man, if you land him and Riley, you have the backing of a really, really strong class in the state of Ohio in 2026. And that would be a great start for Tyler Bowen. It kind of gets served up to him where you say, hey, if you lock down your state's borders, you got these two really, really good offensive linemen. Obviously, Adam Guthrie, top 250 kid, already committed to Clemson. And I think that was one of the reasons why Maxwell Riley committing when he did was so big. So I don't think we're on the lookout right now for a Greer commitment. Of course, things could change. I know, there's a visit scheduled for spring practice. He's going to come down. Maybe he meets Tyler Bowen and maybe things go really well. And maybe Ohio State fans have another reason to be happy about where this offensive line recruiting class is trending. But right now, I don't see it. Right now, I think this is going to be a little bit longer term. I think this is going to be a crock pot of a recruitment, if you will, where you just kind of got to wait and see if some good stuff happens in a couple hours. So I think Sam Greer is going to be one of those guys that I think Ohio State probably has to turn its attention to next, because that kid is really good. I do really like him, and I've seen him play, and that kid is just massive. And when you talk true tackle recruiting, that is something that Ohio State has kind of struggled with in the past. That's the reason why they had to go out to the transfer portal and get two different transfers to try and come and start at left tackle and right tackle. Greer fits that mold as a pure tackle. And I think that would be a great fit for Ohio State.
So that's step one of step one.
Yeah.
And that's locking down your borders. And obviously Tyler Bowen can spend the rest of the cycle chasing some of the top players in the country, guys like Darius Gray and Jackson Cantwell. And get the text 614-350-3315 as this news is happening. News, analysis, anything you could possibly want, recruiting, football, everything else. Even a little bit of nonsense is there as well. Andrew will be bringing you all of that stuff. And go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. I'm Steve, and that's Andrew. Ohio State with another addition to its 2026 recruiting class, which right now ranks 20th nationally. That's because it only has 5 commitments. Chris Henry Jr., Jacob Weatherspoon, Jaden Ricketts, and Corbin Fordham were already in the class. And now Maxwell Riley is on board as the first offensive lineman. See you later.